Hey everybody, how you doing? This is the IDAVOX report. I am Daryle Lamont Jenkins, the soon-to-be proprietor of a grilled cheese Antifa truck that's going to be driving around the country. Look for it soon.
Need a vegan option, Daryle.
Huh?
There we go.
Vegan option on that truck.
Yeah, it'll be vegan. It'll be all soy grilled cheese and all that. For those of y'all who don't know what we're talking about, we were talking about how I kept talking before we came on. I was talking about how I want to be in so many different places and I haven't been to any of them. And Christian suggested that I should open up start up like an Antifa food truck, which when you're 350 pounds is a pretty, I don't know if you can say enticing idea or devastating, depending on how you look at it.
You'll be on your feet the whole time. It's not, you'll be working, so you'll be good. You'll burn it all off, man. It's easy peasy. That's all you got to do. Just stay on your feet, cutting the slices of cheese, baking that bread. You know how it goes. You'll burn all those calories off.
Cool. And if I stick to the vegan options like Beth suggested,
there you go.
And by the way,
get like the cashews.
Christian Perez is with me, Beth Foster is with me, Brian Powers is with me, and we are all just going to rock and roll for the next hour, and we hope you are here with us through the entire thing, because it's for me, honestly, it's been a slow summer. That's what started the whole food truck thing, and it really hasn't been a slow summer. I just haven't been going anywhere lately because, we're low on funds.
Since we're just starting the show, I think now is a good time to ask for money and tell people how. I mean, they can, they're part of this thing too, man.
Yes, I mean, one of the reasons why we do this is for y'all, and y'all take it in. If y'all appreciate what we do here, just go ahead and go to onepeoplesproject.com. One of the first things you'll see is a donate button. Click on that donate button and use whatever platform you want to use. If you want to use the Stripe platform, you go ahead. Venmo is there. If you buy things on Amazon, there's the Amazon Smile option. So do that too. Oh yeah, One People's Project also has Cash App. It's basically Grub Steak One People's Project. So you can always hit us up on Cash App. We'll be happy. And that's it in a nutshell. But I don't like begging, so there's also a merch thing there. I mean, you can buy T-shirts, you can buy Antifa skull caps. I only have 6 of those now.
Those are cool too, because I still want one.
And I need to make more. I only have 6 left right now. So we got Hey Has Consequences bumper stickers. We got buttons. I'm waiting for a button. It's being made now in response to the Ron DeSantis's "Don't Say Gay" bill down in Florida. It's just a talk balloon with the word "gay" in it, and eventually we'll make. I wanted it for June, but it didn't. It wasn't made quick enough. But get them while it's relevant, because that bill ain't gonna be around too long. But that's what but there's a lot of things that are going on regardless, and then we're going to be talking about them today, and I am going to let everybody else talk because I have spent the past 5 minutes doing it. Is everyone else's turn? I'm starting off with, hi Beth, how are things? And the reason why I'm going to you is because you're in Kentucky right now.
That's right.
And there's some things, and it's been pretty bad over the past week, and and just let everybody know how things are up there right now.
Where I am in Kentucky, we are safe. We didn't experience the devastating floods, but in eastern Kentucky, I think we're up to 25 people who died in that flooding. So we're really seeing, the climate change catastrophes beginning. I was in Nashville yesterday where they're in drought, 2-hour drive away. And eastern Kentucky, we're on the edge, and, we've got massive flooding. So, it's been a pretty rough week in Kentucky, but I did see Hamilton yesterday. So that was a fun way to end a pretty nasty week. So,
yeah, it's crazy because Hamilton, everybody's just like, at least on the political side, is down in it because there's a lot of issues concerning, the fact that you have all these black and brown characters playing slave owners, and you don't really get into the story about Hamilton. But my attitude, story about Hamilton and his attitude towards slavery and things, I mean, that is important. But having said that, I mean, I think that basically when it comes to stuff like Hamilton, it's just like, if it gets people through the door when it comes to stuff like that, then get them through the door.
Yeah.
Just fill in the blanks. Just fill in the blanks. That's what we're here for.
George Washington's, I'm going to say goodbye, that scene in the show, which was written well before January 6th. It was just so relevant, as we think about January 6th on the other side of that. And George Washington, telling Hamilton, we're going to teach the country how to say goodbye. So lots of things there that you could dive deeply into.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important that we marry a lot of what had happened back then to what is going on now, and not in the way you would think, though.
Yeah,
not in the way you would think. I mean, I always tell everybody, for example, that today's libertarians and today's ANCAPs are similar to the founding fathers, and that's not a prop.
I could see that.
Not a prop. I mean,
yeah.
Go on, Christian.
No, I could see that. I could see, because if you're looking at the founding fathers, and I could see that I would say that at least libertarians in their heads, they would see themselves as founding fathers, because I mean, the founding fathers, I mean, when we talk about the American Revolution, as I see it, and as we learn about it in political science, like in my background, it's not really a revolution, right? It's an anti-colonial struggle. You have this class of rich men who don't want to pay taxes to, yes, an unnecessary middleman in the crown, and they revolt against that. But nowadays, when you look at these libertarians, in many ways, it's, from what I've seen in studying libertarians or anarcho-capitalists, I don't like calling them ANCAPs because they're not anarchists. And, there's that whole HBO drama, documentary, which is mucking up the language.
Everybody's
from what I've seen, exactly. Everybody's pissed about that. But from what I've seen about libertarians, it's predominantly the ideology of the white upper middle class, right? It exists almost exclusively in North America, and then you might have some libertarian movements in parts of Europe, or I got into it in Twitter with some libertarians from like Latin America, but it's like 8 dudes. It's like 8 dudes in Colombia, and it's, whenever you hear about libertarianism in Latin America, it's always somebody from the United States trying to impose something down there. It's never organic. It's never grassroots. Like you're never going to see, like in Africa, people organizing among libertarian ideology. So, I mean, it cracks me up. But yes, in their heads, they see themselves as like these revolutionaries, revolting against this. I don't know. It's weird to me, because they think they're revolting against government, but ultimately they want to replace government with big business. So you want to replace one authority with another, and that's libertarianism in a nutshell.
It was those farmers that were wondering, why was they giving their money to a monarchy 3,000 miles away that never been to America? And I mean, and bear in mind, we are cognizant of the fact that we are on stolen land. While we're talking about people stolen land, the people who actually stole it, by the way. But we're talking about farmers out there, poor farmers, just basically tilling the land, wondering, why is it we're giving our taxes, all of our money, to this king and to this kingdom that doesn't have anything to do with us. And then Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense and really started ginning up the works, really started getting people interested in the idea of what we can be autonomous. And then the libertarians, such as Washington, Hamilton, Franklin, for what it's worth. Franklin was one of the better ones. So was Adams, and so on. Madison, they're the ones that turned it into what it was. As a matter of fact, Madison came up with the Federalist Papers, and holy shit.
I mean, you have people like Americans, at least in North America, because the Spanish were settling well before that. But Jamestown is founded what, in 1620? So in 1776, when the Americans declare independence, we're talking 150 years of self-government, right? It's 150 years. In those days, 150 years is a long time now. 150 years is an even longer time when you're thinking of how long a human life is in those days, right? So 150 years, they were able to manage without the presence of a king. And, it became apparent to them that monarchy was a thing of the past. And, without that, we wouldn't be developing in the world, in the way we are now. We wouldn't be moving ideally, or at least hopefully towards, something more socialist or a democratic alternative. But yeah, that's how history goes.
If Tom Spain was around today, he would be called a socialist.
Probably.
Socialist. Yeah, bottom line. Brian, you want to jump in?
No, I think you guys got it. You're good.
Okay.
We have our, but we do have a guest that just arrived, a familiar face indeed. Hello.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. How are you doing? Speaking of revolution.
Well, I'm doing great. Absolutely. It is so good to see Christian and Daryle, and I think Brian's in here, and of course Beth, my compatriot down here in the South. So just so your audience knows, my name is Will York. I'm a lawyer down in Nashville, and I had the great privilege yesterday of going to the Operation Save America National Foundations of Freedom rally that we were so lucky to have here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Bless your heart.
Yes, indeed. And so I don't know if Beth told you, but she and I went to see Hamilton yesterday.
That's what we were talking about. That's what led to the conversation we just had.
That's why you're talking about revolutionaries. Well, that's a different kind of revolutionary than the Operation Save America rally. Let me tell you that.
Oh boy.
And but I thought that there was some kind of through line between Hamilton and Operation Save America, because Operation Save America, which is a Christian nationalist group, of course, their logo has a really ornate crown on it, and so I thought that we were talking about Save America from democracy, send it back to King George, but I was explained that the crown is about Jesus becoming the not only religious but also a political leader of the United States. So they had their rally, OSA. They've been in Nashville all week for their Foundations of Freedom gathering, conference, rally. It's really telling because they really spent a lot of time, if you look at their agenda, split between praying and learning political action. And so you see kind of a lot of the similarities between their kind of, nascent involvement in politics and how American Renaissance started getting involved in politics. Sort of first we're talking about all of these, evil people, and then all of a sudden we flex toward how do you get involved in politics, and how do you talk to your legislators, and how do you run for office, and that sort of thing. So pretty concerning. There were this week, of course, with them in town, there were several people who were arrested at Planned Parenthood because they could not leave when asked. Their praying got a little much, apparently, for the health care that was being provided there. And what's really interesting is on their website, they tout this gathering as very, all caps, very family friendly. But one of the folks who went to the abortion clinic, formerly abortion clinic, in the wake of the Roe versus Wade overturning, there's not even any abortions provided there, but they still, I guess, felt they needed to do a Christian hex on the place. And so there was one person who was arrested with a child in their arms, and the police, in their great mercy, decided not to actually physically put them in handcuffs, but rather just give them a misdemeanor citation because they had a child in their hands. And then so the rally yesterday was at the Tennessee State Capitol. And so it was, billed as the culmination of their week of prayer and action. And I got to say that it was weird as hell. There's just really no other way around it. It was this weird, like, Gideon slash, Christian fundamentalist, nationalist slash Christian concert wannabe. I mean, it was really a weird thing. And I just was thinking the whole time, if they really were here just for, to express their firmly held religious beliefs, this would be at a church. But they intentionally put this at the state capitol for a reason, because this was meant to cap off their sort of move, more officially mark their sort of transition away from just doing their practicing their firmly held religious beliefs to imposing those religious beliefs on everyone else through the use of the political process.
Right.
And there were a lot of counter demonstrators there, anti-fascist counter demonstrators, because I think, make no mistake, OSA, Operation Save America, I think can be classified as a fascist group. If you look at all kind of the indicators of what is a fascist group, counter demonstrators brought really good music, which was helpful, because I'm telling you, the hymns they were trying to sing were like atrocious.
I was in Idaho, and I swear we probably were looking at the same exact people back on June 11th when they was messing with the Pride Parade. It's like, come on, y'all. I mean, this is one of those times where you wish they weren't racist, because some black voices would have definitely kicked it up a notch.
You think so? Yeah, yeah. What was really sad is they sent their kids, or what looked like their kids, down onto the sidewalk, in unsupervised by the dangerous Antifa, and to try to play music, and there's a gentleman with a guitar, and several young ladies around him trying to sing some sort of hymns, and I mean, it was futile, but they sent those children right into the lion's den.
What's interesting about the whole, I'm going to check something as you're talking, but I want to find out. Operation Save America used to be called Operation Rescue. And that was founded by Randall Terry. And then Randall Terry left and broke off from the group. And then Tucci, I think his name was, he had taken over. He was there for a little bit. Then a guy named Flip Benham, who was a load of laughs. I mean, I saw him protesting Bill Clinton's second inauguration when I was there as a reporter. And he didn't like my gear, because I walked up to him while he was doing his thing, wearing I was wearing this beautiful pink button that said "I'm pro-choice and I shoot back," and he hated that. He hated that. But hey, to that group, what I'm trying to check, I think there was issues concerning how violent they were back in the day. Yeah, and I think they've been accused. Well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it online till I know for sure. Maybe we'll bring it up in another show. I wanted to see whether or not Operation. I want to be sure that Operation Rescue was associated with or tersely associated with some of the clinic bombings that happened back in the day. I got an SPLC article.
One of the things I was reading, Daryle, is they prayed for the abortion clinic terrorists.
Okay.
They had at least that association, that they were having prayer for the clinic bombers.
So we'll pray for Antifa.
they need your prayers, evidently. I got to say that the counter demonstration was extraordinarily effective, not only in bringing some decent music to the scene, but it their presence just seemed to have derailed the agenda, because the speakers kept trying to pray over the what they imagine as Antifa. They were they had many members surrounding them, laying, imposing the Holy Spirit upon them. It was very you can tell that the agenda did not include all that, but they felt compelled, speaker after speaker, to call out the anti-fascist demonstrators. We heard all the tropes you hear about how sad they are and how we need to pray for them because they don't know better. Well, one speaker said they don't know better. Another speaker said they absolutely do know what they're doing, because they live in their parents' basements and are watching pornography all night and playing video games, presumably simultaneously, which, hey, that's a feat.
I have to ask, Will, really quick. I mean, I'm looking at this speakers list of assorted white bearded men, and like, were there any? What was the female presence, on the side of Operation Save America? You said that there were some girls, like children, but I see a bunch of white guys, presumably knowing what's best for everybody, leading like an anti-choice demonstration. I mean, what was can you talk about the makeup of the protesters versus the counter protesters?
Well, I can say that as far as Operation Save America, it was actually very diverse as far as gender is concerned.
Okay.
There were a lot of families there, but there was a tremendous incongruity between who was there versus who was speaking, right? Because in the sort of Christian nationalist worldview, women are required, depending on your particular sect, to shut up and obey their husbands. So there were a lot of women and children there. They had a lot of the children holding those real large colors, photographs of allegedly aborted fetuses and all this sort of thing. A lot of, babies' lives matter signage and that sort of thing.
It's funny, they can never say Black Lives. They get mad when you say Black Lives Matter, but every other thing
Everybody
matters.
else.
Yes, babies were the protected population yesterday for sure.
But you say Black babies' lives matters, that shit would change.
They had a large color poster of a very beautiful young Black child.
You're absolutely right. I apologize for that because they do like to exploit us when they can.
Yeah, that's the new thing. That's the new thing is abortion kills brown and Black babies. So, by stopping abortions, we're stopping because now that's when they care about brown and Black people. It's so naturally they had, they were supporting legislation for after school programs and lunch programs and job training programs. Naturally, they had all that on the pro-life side, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was certainly missing, of course. In fact, one of the speakers was so animated as far as restoring the right to persecute women and mothers, that as he was preaching, I mean, it was fascinating to see the interweaving of religion and politics. They were praying aloud that that the act of assisting or committing an abortion would return to homicide. So in the criminal code. So we are so pro-life that we want to kill you through execution, for performing or assisting in a medical procedure. So yeah, very pro-life. So pro-life will kill you. But it was very fascinating to watch all many speakers and many attendees be distracted from their mission because of anti-fascist demonstrators who
And that group was led by marginalized gender groups, right, Will? It was women, trans people, queer
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah, so yes, thank you, Beth. And to answer your second part of that question, Christian, absolutely. The anti-fascist counter demonstrators were made up of a wide patchwork of people who represent America. So trans people, women, young people, not so young people, absolutely, absolutely.
One of
I had a
the
question.
things.
I'm sorry. I had a question. We did mention there are some women at the front of the movement every once in a while. The Christian National. One of them is Lauren Boebert, and she's special. Per se, I recently saw her quoted as saying that the church should be at the head of government. I believe I may be paraphrasing a bit there, but she was saying that she believes essentially in theocracy. And I like the term of saying the quiet part out loud because this has been a movement for a while, but now they're really like just out and out saying they want a theocracy. Can you tell me a little bit and talk a little bit about what the political strategy has been to this point, kind of how they got there and maybe, where they're at now and what they're looking forward to doing because they've already achieved some of these goals. I mean, Roe v. Wade being overturned was a huge goal, but they're not done there. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about the political history and maybe the future of these lunatics.
Great question. I would add to Lauren Boebert, I would add Marjorie Taylor Greene, who this week said that we should be pursuing a Christian nationalist agenda.
I am a Christian. I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word.
So that was Marjorie Taylor Greene. So they're moving to saying the quiet part aloud. I would say that the strategy for groups like this has been to seize on the abortion issue with all of the emotional baggage that comes along with a traumatic experience like ending a pregnancy, and all of the emotions that are wrapped up in that, not only for the person going through it, but the community, apparently even people who are not affected by that. So the vile pictures and that sort of thing of allegedly butchered children, has and praying over them, and putting out the crosses for all of the allegedly aborted fetuses in America, and all of this sort of thing, has been the tender to ignite the fire of Christian nationalist, Christian fundamentalist political activity. I call it fundamentalist and nationalist because it's not just, not wanting abortions for themselves, but also imposing their worldview on the public at large. Now, in this rally yesterday, they affirmatively stated that they thank the Supreme Court for doing what they see as the right thing. Finally, they had a lot of skepticism in the courts still. I could tell that very palpably, but no, they stated without reservation that that's just the beginning, that they intend to roll back the rights of others as well. But they wanted to let all the attendees know that they are not homophobic, despite their beliefs, and they're not racist and all those other things. So they made sure to let us all know that. But
one of the things I kept seeing in their signage from the videos was "We'll adopt your abortion." And I just want to point out, in the state of Tennessee, where they were holding those signs, that there are 8,000 children in the foster care system. And according to the government website, on any given day, nearly 400 of those children are legally free for adoption. So these Christian nationalists who say that, I don't know where they are when these children need homes.
It's quite a fantasy. I didn't see any of those specific signs yesterday. There probably were, because they had a lot of signs, and their signs were very big, and they were covering up even each other's signs. One of these signs at one point actually fell from a height, from a balcony above the Capitol, and nearly hit 2 law enforcement officers. And I was just thinking, and I thought there would be a reaction to this gigantic sign nearly hitting some cops.
Certainly
Because-
would have been a different group of protesters. They
Exactly.
literally attacked and beat protesters for lighting a match on this same place a few years ago.
It would certainly not surprise me if there had been charges for the sign falling, and I don't believe that the sign was intentionally thrown or hurled down by the Christian Nationalists. They probably just got so overwhelmed in their state of ecstasy and prayer that it just slipped out of their hands. But the officers just sort of moved and laughed. I mean, but if it were other protesters, it could have been felony charges of assault against a law enforcement officer or attempted assault. So that was the reality is that the foster care system is not built for these people to take their children in, and the children who were there, I felt profoundly desperate for them. I don't believe that many of these people are good parents. They were bringing these children to this, to this prayer, and they were exposing them to the dangerous Antifa and the opportunity for confrontation with them. They were bringing these kids up the stairs in strollers. I mean, from an extraordinarily young age to hear vile commentary about their fellow Americans and why they're set apart and other, and why people like Antifa will be going to hell. That was pronounced several times, and how hopeful the speakers and prayers were that Antifa would repent before it's too late. I mean, even if these children really were adoptable in the numbers that would make abortion rescue possible, these are not good parents for the most part.
Well, that wasn't the last conference. I wanted to just point out, wanted to just dig up what we got coming up too, because you guys had your fun in Tennessee. There's probably a few conferences that are going to go on in the month of August, but I came across one just now. It's going to take place in Atlanta, September 14th through 16th. It's called the Pray, Vote, Stand for Life. And
they always have these. They always have these names. They always got to have like these fiery names, or it's like vote or America or freedom is always somehow like thrown in there. I don't know.
We've been getting it. Well, they got to make themselves look more exciting than they actually are. So you just got to just give them that. I mean, we've had a series of conferences over the past couple of weeks. I mean, we just had that America First conference in DC, where Trump finally came up at the town and started doing his thing. And we had the conference. No, it wasn't America. And then what was the one in Florida? There was one in Florida where the Nazis actually.
The Turning Point.
That
was Turning Point USA.
Toilet Paper USA, where the Nazis showed up, and they're getting mad at the View for Charlie Kirk getting mad at the View for calling them Nazis when he actually worked with Jack Posobiec.
Yeah, I mean, you are the company you keep, right?
Yeah, dig. And so basically that is what they're doing now. The whole thing, it's nothing new, really. It's really nothing new. Even the whole training people to how to talk to your legislators, how to that political training has always been a thing with the conservatives. It's never with us because we're just like this political process. We're doing what we need to do. We're trying to build up institutions beyond the political process. That's how come you never really see it unless you go to maybe the Daily Coast's conference that was also taking place around here, but they priced themselves out of the market of the people that need to hear it. So later for the Daily Coast, But Pray, Vote, Stand for Life is going to take place in Atlanta, and y'all gonna love the speakers. Are you sitting down? Oh, yeah, you are sitting down.
Wait, real quick, before you start, Daryle, before you go through the list of speakers, I do want to say that Beth had mentioned off camera in the chat that at the Turning Point conference, there were the people with the speakers, and that conference was headlined by Governor Rick. I'm sorry, by Governor not, oh my God, not I'm sorry, not Rick Scott. I'm sorry, DeSantis. Oh my God, I totally. Rick Scott was the only person to come forward and actually condemn the Nazis who were outside the conference, but they're still waiting for DeSantis to do so, and it's been about a week. And he has refused.
One of the speakers on this thing.
Yeah, he headlined the conference. They were holding his picture. They're waving swastikas, and he refused to. He has not condemned them yet. And this is a guy who can never seem to shut his mouth.
Yeah, and he went on with the George Soros tropes and all of that during his speech.
Which is all
so
too. Yeah. By the way, this Pray Vote Stand for Life conference is going to be happening at First Baptist Atlanta. It's on North Peachtree Road in Atlanta, Georgia. So brace yourself for that. But here are the speakers. And some of these folks I don't know. I mean, a lot of these folks I don't really know. And to your point, there's a number of people of color and a number of women, but nothing, but it is mostly white men in these pictures here. There's George Barna, David Barton, David and Jason Benham. Remember, I just mentioned Flip Benham. These are his sons. And they say best-selling authors, entrepreneur, former MLB players. Senator Marsha Blackburn. If you don't hear anything stupid coming out of her mouth, that's because she's asleep.
Yeah.
You may as well say if you don't hear anything racist come out of her mouth, that's because she's asleep.
Or transphobic. She is having a real hard time knowing the difference between man, woman. I mean, this has been a real mind-blowing experience for her to deal with trans issues. And by the way, you can add, of course, every Trump rally in the country now to fascist gatherings and Christian nationalist gatherings, because the new thing for President Trump, if you have the unfortunate pleasure of monitoring what he says his rallies, is the transphobia. The President Trump has really started seizing on bathroom bills. I guess he feels like that sort of thing polls well. So Blackburn and Trump together on the anti-trans stuff, you can mark it down.
I think it's interesting that there was this week of action in Nashville this week, and now they're going to Atlanta. Will and I were talking about yesterday. When you look at the South, and those of us who are in the South, Nashville and Atlanta are kind of the liberal, progressive outposts, and they're targeting those cities because those are the places they can get a reaction.
This conference will be happening 2 months before the election, and it looks like, and it's pretty close right now between Brian Kemp, who Trump did not endorse, and Stacey Abrams, who's just like a point behind him.
Who is awful on everything. I mean, Stacey Abrams has got to be the worst progressive we call the progressive ever. She's out there praising cops. She was out there marching with defund the police and all that. Now she's on Twitter saying we need to give them raises.
We love our police. We sit here and talk about the Democrats and cops. I mean, it's one thing to say you don't like defund the police as a motto or anything like that, but I normally hear when people say defund the police is bad, it's because they know what we should be saying. We should be allocating those funds to more mental health programs and to things that do not involve the police and take the weight off of the police. Now, they know that's what we are saying, but they refuse to say that. They just say defund the police is bad because we need the police. And Biden goes up there and says, no, fund the police. The man who helped author the 94 crime bill should not be saying that. I mean, it's frustrating. But let me get back to the speakers list. Not to get too far off topic. Because there's some folks here that will make you stop a little bit too. First, there's Ken Blackwell, former Ohio Secretary of State. Ryan Baumberger, I don't know him. He's founder of Radiance Foundation. I think I know Bishop Wellington Boone, but I'm not sure. Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council. Sam Brownback.
Welcome back.
That's a name we know. Special, there's Andrew Brunson from Family Research Council. Here's another name we know. Kirk Cameron. He'll be speaking at this thing. Ben Carson will be speaking at this thing.
What? Is he going to stay awake through it? Can he keep people awake?
Come on, this is a lively speech. You'll be all right.
Oh my God, Ben Carson.
We'll be fine. J.P. DeGance, I'm not familiar with. Of course, we know Governor Ron DeSantis. We talked about him. Seth Dillon, the CEO of the Babylon Bee. So basically, all he's going to be doing is complaining about how the Babylon Bee got bounced off Twitter. That's all you're going to hear from him. There's a Katie Faust I'm not familiar with. Jentizen Franklin from Gainesville, Georgia. Dr. Anthony George from Atlanta. Robbie George from the U.S. Commission on International and Religious Freedom. I wonder what that is. Representative Bob Good. Franklin Graham. So you're going to hear a lot of anti-Semitism. O.S. Guinness. Pastor Gary Hamrick.
Have they mentioned one woman yet?
Yeah, Katie Faust.
Yeah, and Marsha
Blackburn. So far we got two. And so far we got 4 black men. So far so well. And then
the optics work out.
We have the legendary track star himself, Josh Hawley. So he's in this.
Is he gonna lead the charge?
Straight ahead, y'all.
Just follow Josh. Just follow Josh.
Mike,
that was the funniest thing in the January 6th hearing.
Yeah, we should have brought that up, but now we can.
we should talk about that, yeah.
Okay, now here's where it starts getting interesting. Now remember, September, 2 months before the election day. Mike Huckabee's on this list. His daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is running for governor now.
Mike Huckabee, when I say Mike Huckabee wrote the book on how to be a grifter politician, I mean, he literally wrote the book on how to be a grifter politician. He ran for president knowing he was never going to be president, used that to get a book deal, to get a radio show deal. And it was literally since then, you've seen every Republican campaign, or every 4 years, you see all the weirdos creep out of the woodwork, because he literally set the blueprint. You can run for president, you can bind all the weirdos around you, and then you can sell them your books and your radio shows, and he has made millions of dollars since he decided to run for president. What was that, in 2008?
Yeah. Hey. He's online selling a Donald Trump children's book right now. On YouTube. That's what this guy's devolved into.
The way I know Mike Huckabee is, as Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas, he gave a videotape address to the Council of Conservative Citizens. That's how I know Mike Huckabee. So, actually, there's an asterisk next to his name. What does the asterisk mean? Oh, they're confirmed. Basically, the ones that are confirmed were Barna, Barton, Brownback, Baumberger, Boykin, Brunson, Carson. DeSantis isn't even confirmed yet. Dillon isn't confirmed yet. Gary Hamrick, Hawley isn't confirmed. Franklin Graham isn't confirmed. Mike Huckabee is confirmed. Brian Kemp isn't confirmed yet, but he's the governor of Georgia. He's the one that's running against Stacey Abrams, so he'll be at this thing. Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma, not confirmed. Confirmed, the own we got black man number 5, Bishop Vincent Matthews. Kevin McCarthy's going to be there, bringing honor back to the McCarthy name. Mitch McConnell is going to be there.
Oh
God.
Representative,
it's going to be lively. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, both of those aren't confirmed yet. So hey, Mary Miller is also not confirmed. I hear a lot about her. Mary Miller is out of Illinois, and she was doing some kind of a thing that was ticking people off over there. I got to check and see. I can't remember right quick. If anybody can jump in and just let me know. Oh, okay. Dr. Albert Mohler, Melissa Oden, Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council. Now, Tony Perkins also has a Council of Conservative Citizens connection. He has pictures of him with the Council of Conservative Citizens. And when he even bought David Duke's mailing list once upon a time. So
Very fine people.
So Mike Pompeo will be there. Well, nope, not confirmed. Tony Perkins is definitely confirmed. Chip Roy is not confirmed, but he's on this list. Marco Rubio is not confirmed. And one last woman is the host of Relatable, Allie Beth Stuckey. So that's who's going to be showing up for this. And Atlanta has a nice anti-fascist contingent, has a nice crew of people that will be outside, more than likely. I'm gonna find out. I will probably be down there for Atlanta. I would probably be down there. I'll probably go there. I want to go down to Atlanta in a couple of weeks anyway, but I would definitely be down there for September 14th to 16th. So,
I think in the past, we haven't seen these kinds of events as like fascist gatherings when they're talking about reproductive rights and I think that that thinking is changing. I think it's got to, because they're merging. All of these things are merging and have been for a while.
Yeah, that's been their intention, I feel like. But I feel like that now a lot more people have wisened up, if not a bit late, to the fact of the confluence of their dominionist Christian theology with their ardent political activity that they see is ordained by God, and it's very, very concerning, and has truly begun to bear itself out in all branches of the government.
They do have,
they do, and but yes, I would say that as far as the Operation Save America gathering capstone on yesterday, the anti-fascist element absolutely was effective in showing the public who was driving by the Capitol that that is, they don't speak for everyone in the state, for sure, and I would say that the anti-fascist demonstrator presence certainly, not because there was any actual coordinated disruption of the event, but just because the event organizers themselves decided to take it on, changed the narrative. Instead of talking about ways to get involved in undoing civil rights, many of the speakers chose voluntarily to talk about the evils of anti-fascist, and how we need to pray for them living in their parents' basement and on pornography and everything. And the way I saw it, great. The longer they're talking about anti-fascists and the nefarious left, the less they're talking about what they should actually be doing.
But then again, that's also a testament to the work that we do too. That's the other thing. I think that a lot of times when you hear them, when you see them going after certain groups physically or just calling them out, it's either because they are soft targets or because they are doing something very bad to them, or both. I think in the case of Antifa, it's definitely the latter. I don't think of us as soft targets. Insofar that we are soft targets, it's because we have not the political strength as anti-fascists that other groups might have, or what have you. But otherwise, we never needed it, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just like what one of my people down in DC was saying. One of the things that we don't have is an anti-fascist lobby in DC. We don't have anti-fascist lobbyists in DC. It'll be interesting to see what that would look like.
And they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't let him in. I mean, the fact of the matter was, why am I not a Democrat? Why am I not going alongside the mainstream? I could never do what I am doing now if it was strictly as a Democrat, because I would have Democrats telling me this is not the time to bring up racism.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's the difference between leaders and
I've-
politicians.
yeah. I mean, I've lobbied before when I was working for labor unions, and you don't necessarily have to be let in to lobby. I lobbied state senator at the urinal of a bathroom one time. So you just got to go into the state house and find them where you can talk to them. That's a true story, by the way. We were lobbying for pension rights, and we had a list of targets. You go in there with a list of, elected officials that you want to talk to. Sometimes you have appointments. Sometimes you're supposed to see this guy at 1 and this guy at 2. But for the rest of the day, you kind of just wander around the state house and keep an eye out for these targets. And I was going to the bathroom, facing a wall, and looked over to my right, and there was one of our state assemblymen, who sure enough was one of our targets. He's about 84 years old, so it's going to take him a while. And I talked him up. I said, "Hey, man, do we have your vote on the pension bill?" And we
You
went
didn't
back
shake
and
his
forth
hand,
a little
did you?
bit. What's that?
You didn't shake his hand, did you?
On the way out of the bathroom, yeah, I did. But we washed our hands because I talked to him all the way from peeing to washing your hands to walking out the door. That was when I lobbied him. So, and I think
That wasn't in a stall.
Huh? Oh, I would have hopped over the stall if I had to, man. We needed that bill. I was getting paid to lobby.
I mean, I would love to see what an anti-fascist lobby would look like if you talk. I did this. I went to an anti-immigration lobby. No, I was not anti-immigration. I was doing my usual infiltrations at the time because this was around the time no one knew who the hell I was. But I went to one that they had this thing called "Hold Your Feet to the Fire." This had to have been around 2005, 2006, and no, 2006, because what they just it was just a whole bunch of no, I'm wrong. It was whenever no, it was definitely 2005, 2006 because it was around the time the Minute Klan Project was around, and there was a whole week of just like um, anti-immigration activism going on in DC, and it was all surrounding this particular event, this "Hold Your Feet to the Fire" thing, and hold their feet to the fire. So they was going in talking to Congress people. They had a movie during the week, and it was a pretty interesting structure. And me and my friend and this is probably where I first heard the thing. We don't have an anti-fascist lobby. We don't have an Antifa lobby. And back then, we pronounced it Antifa because no one else heard the word yet.
And I don't think I don't. That's not really been in our wheelhouse. I mean, a lot of anti-fascists are anti kind of government. I mean, we've even expressed on this show that it's a three-way fight.
But I think
that you look at what the Christian right has accomplished by engaging in the establishment and how far they've come, and these people do make big important decisions about where billions of dollars goes, and they have these bully pulpits where they can shout a narrative. So I don't know. I've kind of reeled back a little bit in my hardened stance against working within the establishment. I think I've maybe I'm getting older and more conservative, like everybody told me I would. But engaging with elected officials is not something that you should strive to do or really even enjoy all that much. But it's look at the effect that they're having on our world right now, and to not engage with them, I think is probably to our detriment, even if you don't personally.
Here's something to that. But here's something to that, and I know everybody wants to get in, and I apologize, but I just want to make this point. When I see Andy Ngo and Candace Owens on during Senate or House hearings on TV or on YouTube and all that, I'm not looking at them as speaking necessarily to the elected officials. I hear them using that opportunity to soberly explain their positions. If you give me the opportunity, if I get the opportunity to speak before Congress, I'm not speaking to Congress, I'm speaking to everybody that's watching. And I think that's one of the better bully pulpits. I mean, I've been able to build a decent bully pulpit on my own in the past just 6-7 years, but for the most part, I think I would like to do that just so people who I couldn't reach, I reach. I'm tired of hearing Candace Owens try to say, come up with the latest thing against Black people when she's being Black. Tired of Andy Ngo saying the same lies about Antifa. You know, it's time that somebody was sit up there. I mean, there's been a Professor Goff from John Jay. He's really good when he goes up there and talks. You know, I mean, it's and plus I like to give it to Matt Gaetz every now and again if I get the chance. So hopefully he won't be there by the time I get a chance to do a Senate hearing or a congressional hearing or whatever. But here's where I segue into that other conference in Nashville coming up. Here's where I segue into that. Now, for those who don't know what I am talking about, it's the American Renaissance Conference that will be happening on November 18th to 20th in outside of Nashville, 45 minutes outside Nashville, in the town called Burns, Tennessee. Now, I'm glad to hear about that anti-fascist contingent that came out for Operation Save America. We need them in November. And but more to the point, we need them now. Now, you want to talk about lobbying? This is when we start going up and start dealing with our state house people, because we have a problem more so with the elected officials in Tennessee than we do with the conference itself. Now, by the way, to the point about lobbying, remember this about American Renaissance. Now, in the course of time, what we were able to do was keep them from lobbying in DC, because they used to have their conferences in the DC area, which meant there was a whole bunch of people coming in to speak to their elected officials. Some of them who would actually speak at the conference, and it would appear on C-SPAN. But when we took that away from them and have them hiding out in Tennessee, another dynamic happened. They were able to build the worst of the worst who can go to DC and lobby. Remember, Jared Taylor, the founder of American Renaissance, comes from Oakton, Virginia. He lives in Oakton, Virginia. So they got a lot of young people that are coming in, and a lot of folks who are still able to navigate CPAC whenever they have their conference, even though CPAC is in Orlando, Florida these days, or America First conference, that like the one that happened just last week. They have an opportunity. Now they have access to those elected officials that we otherwise don't want them to have access to. Now, this American Renaissance Conference is happening. It's going to feature former Representative Steve King out of Iowa. It's been a long time since they've had any kind of elected official going to their conferences. And Steve King was so bad with his racism that even the Republicans said, well, we got to kick him to the curb.
That's a feat.
But that took 8 damn years of people saying, yo, get him out of here. I mean,
for those who don't know, Steve King was the one who asked the question, why was it bad to say white pride?
Yeah, white nationalism, I think he said. And now he's gonna now we know that he's going to this conference. He's basically, if I say lifting the veil in regards to Steve King, I'm really not being honest about.
That veil's been lifted.
He burned the veil to the ground years ago. I mean, there's no lifting the veil. This is more like fuck it. But they're also going to have. We're sitting there talking about women at this summit coming up in Atlanta. We are also going to have Laura Loomer there. Now, as far as I know, she will probably be the second or third woman to speak at American Renaissance out of maybe 30 some odd years of this conference. And there is a possibility, slim, judging from how she's talking on Telegram, a possibility she could be a congressperson-elect, because she's running for Congress right now in Florida. So hopefully she will be the failed congressional candidate, but the fact remains she is going to be there speaking. And for those who I've been talking for a while, by the way, Will, about a new documentary called We Don't Walk in Fear. It's basically about me. And
Oh, is this the one they were filming? Was it last year, or year before at the
Yes.
American Renaissance?
yes, and they go to American Renaissance, and you're in it. You're talking about the conference and the history of the conference as it stood in Tennessee, and you make and you made the point about how they are able to continuously hold the conference there and shut everybody out, because this is one of the problems that we have, and we brought this up before in past shows about how they are able to basically keep the public out when they shouldn't be keeping the public out.
And they went, and just to remind everyone, they ended up going to Tennessee because Tennessee's put a ton of money in renovating their state parks to make the state parks have really nice facilities as far as conference centers and hotel facilities. And so Jared Taylor, when Daryl's work was so effective at shaming them out of the DC hotel market, they decided to come down to Tennessee and because the state parks are owned by the government, state parks, so the First Amendment applies. Can't discriminate against them and say no, we don't want to book your event. And so Tennessee says, okay, well, I guess we'll have to let you come on in. And, and I'm sure Daryl in the documentary goes into it. At first, the state seemed a little bit unsure about bringing them in. And at first the states tried to charge them a security fee because of, the extra security that would be needed so that the park attendees could be safe and the park employees could be safe, and presumably that even the American Renaissance Conference participants would be safe. Well, Ameren sued the state over those security fees and prevailed, saying, you can't discriminate against us compared to any other speaker or somebody having a quilting conference, and so they have truly been at home at Tennessee, in the Tennessee state parks. Part of Tennessee's actions are kind of required by the First Amendment. You can't say, look, we're going to allow some people to have their conference here and not others. That's just, a pretty well established First Amendment case law says that you can't discriminate based on speech, and that's based on viewpoint, especially, and that's a kind of a good kind of fundamental rule of law that the government shouldn't be able to favor one speaker over another in public spaces. But they have certainly made themselves quite at home here in Tennessee. But the consequence of that is being removed from the immediate DC vicinity. And a lot of people don't want to come out to a Tennessee park and express their viewpoints, understandably so,
But here's the thing that we now have a problem with. While they're protecting their freedom of speech, they're doing a hell of a lot of damage to ours. And this time around, it went from after Charlottesville, especially after one of their attendees attacked one of us. They bear in mind, folks, the organizers of Charlottesville were at this conference 2 weeks prior. Okay, so this is important to note. But the following year, then that was the year they started putting up protest pits. Then they started keeping everybody away from the venue while American Renaissance was having their event, and this is not supposed to be happening.
Yeah, they've set up these really broad. I'm sorry, Beth, go ahead.
I was just going to say highly militarized police forces, probably 3-to-1 police to anti-fascist protesters. Would you say that's true, Will?
Absolutely. I mean, in some years they've brought out the police horses who did not seem to be well adjusted to being out in that park, and the horses did not seem to be reacting well. They seemed to be very easily startled. It was very scary. And I just think it's particularly insidious that the Tennessee government has chosen to use the excuse or the justification of what happened in Charlottesville that was their people. That was the American Renaissance people who did that. Not people who are anti-racists, but I just think it's terribly insidious that their actions have caused the state of Tennessee to say, well, you guys need to be well separated with, protest pins, and you need to be a half a mile away from even the conference center at all, because we're, ostensibly we're afraid for your safety, so we're going to hold you back for your safety. But the anti-racist people were not the ones who killed people in Charlottesville. They're not the ones who killed people at the Capitol on January 6th. But for anti-racists' own good, we need to be separated from them. And there's a lunch counter in there. In that hotel, there's a lunch counter where you now they won't even let you go and have lunch there.
No one,
just like,
I mean, even the public, even the regular public who doesn't even care about whatever side we're on here.
right.
And
Because now
incidentally,
they say they reserve the whole conference center. The whole building is now reserved, they say.
and incidentally, I got to make this go on, Beth. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to
We're
remind
getting
you all
riled
that the legislature had made very clear which side they were on, though, because a resolution was introduced right after Charlottesville by a state legislator. Will, you might remember a little bit more of the details, but it was basically to denounce fascism and white nationalism and the violence. Is that right? The bill was shut down in committee within 30 seconds, even though there was a contingency of citizens who showed up to support it. So they would not even say, we denounce white nationalism, we denounce what happened in Charlottesville. So
Yeah.
they very clear.
To point out too, this is what I was going to say. And Beth made this point, and you hear it in the documentary, which hopefully somebody will see sometime soon. There was a camera crew from a group called Media to Rise. They came up to try to talk to us, and we wasn't having any of it. And while they was trying to talk to me, Beth shouted out to the police, because there's no reason to actually have a conversation with the knuckleheads in front of us. The problem was the police, because they was trying to keep us away from them, but they could come up to us. And Beth said, wait a minute, how are you allowing this? And to drive the point home even more so, the guy with the camera, Graham Whitson, was one of those Patriot Front members that got busted in Idaho. The guy who was talking to me, who was calling himself, he gave himself a pen name, but his real name is Alan Goff. He's a guy who was notorious in Montana for causing all kinds of white supremacist drama, neo-Nazi drama, since he was a kid. So he's notorious up there. And they didn't use any of the footage that they got of us. Only time I saw footage from Graham Whitson's camera is when they posted it up on Twitter of me, and they put monkey sounds behind it.
Yeah, Daryl's a frequent target at the American Renaissance of really just Daryl's presence by itself, without Daryl even uttering one word, just seems to get the attendees just completely discombobulated.
I remember
Charlottesville.
As a matter of fact, to your point, because Tennessee is so open to American Renaissance, there's another conference, the Council of Conservative Citizens Conference, that was also being held there. We had somebody go in and basically record everything on camera, and somebody, our person was actually going back to their hotel room, and he walked past two guys that were talking about me. I wasn't even there.
Just to bring our conversation kind of full circle, Daryl, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, one of the people who organized that conference is a preacher from Cleveland, Tennessee, who ran for U.S. Senate. I can't remember his name, but he's
Rick Tyler.
Is that it, Rick Tyler?
Is it Rick Tyler? He had the diner?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Rick Tyler. Yeah.
He's been preaching this white Christian nationalism, dominionism for years and years and years. And a few of us have followed him and, tried to raise the alarms. Now we see them literally taking over institutions, overturning laws. And those are the same people who were at Montgomery Bell with the white supremacists, who were in Nashville in the Legislative Plaza on Saturday, who will be in Atlanta next month. All of these things are so connected.
And we got to make that point as we come to November, because it's not a conference that goes unopposed, but we could use a lot more opposition. We need that opposition. And this is one of the things that I was going to ask you, Will. What can people do between now and November to make sure that our rights are secured? We like y'all to come out. We want y'all to come out, but we also want y'all to start going after the state government because of the drama that we've been faced. But really, Will, what can people do when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think it's and we do keep going out because I, as a Tennessean, personally believe it's vital that people who come to the park know that the American Renaissance does not speak for everybody in Tennessee and does not speak for all Southerners. That people in 30 years in the next generation will not be able to use the excuse of, well, that was just the environment I grew up in. Everybody down there was like that. No, not everybody. And we're going to show you that's not the case. And we want to just secondarily educate the public that such dangerous people are there in the park. So I think that what people can and should do is write to the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. That's the state department that runs the parks, and let them know of incidents of treatment that were not even between protesters and American Renaissance. It's certainly appropriate to let the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation know that they think that the American Renaissance Conference is dangerous to the public, because it is. I mean, I believe Richard Spencer there at the American Renaissance Conference in Tennessee, first announced to the following there that indeed the Charlottesville gathering would be traumatic to anti-racism activists. Well, it certainly was.
In particular, he said to the liberals in Charlottesville.
There you go.
That's why he
Somebody
lost.
died.
Here you go.
Last I heard of him, he was actually pretending to be a moderate. He had a profile. I think it was like on Match.com. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah.
Last I heard of Richard Spencer, his girlfriend or whoever left him, and then he was posing as a moderate on Match.com trying to find a date.
Wow.
I
would say write the Department of Environment and Conservation, implore them to that the public should have full access to the conference center and the park, because certainly the park should be open to everybody, and I don't believe that a closing part of the park for people's quote unquote own safety is appropriate. I think that if an incident does happen, there should be plenty of, there always is plenty of law enforcement to separate them and break it up. But to restrict speech as a precautionary measure is counter to the Enlightenment principles that the Constitution was written upon. And secondarily, contact the park itself and say, I would like to have access to the park on that day and make my opinions known. And I believe that the park, in keeping demonstrators separated to an unreasonable degree from the American Renaissance Conference, impairs my ability to make my viewpoints known in a fair way. And I think that and make copies of those letters when you send it. We want to make sure that the department is in the state of Tennessee is on notice that these are issues.
And we're going to have the address for you on this YouTube channel, and we should have it on the screen at some point around here somewhere.
Before that topic, I do want to tell people that we are organizing. And anybody who wants to be part of organizing against AMRAM, we have a Facebook group, Oppose White Supremacists at Montgomery Bell State Park. If you can find that on Facebook. There's some screening, so we may reach out to you for more information before we let you in. But we are trying to turn out a huge group of people who want to oppose them using the park.
All right. So we ran a little long, but this was important. I mean, I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm glad we had this conversation about the various conferences that are going on. It's like over the past couple of months, these conferences have kind of like snowballed and built up to be more, and not even over summer, because we really could start with just CPAC in Orlando. CPAC in Orlando back in February was actually overwhelmed by the America First Conference. They didn't even talk about CPAC as much as they did the America First Conference, but everything started to snowball, and right at the bottom of that hill is freaking American Renaissance. That's going to be the last big one of the year, because then we go into the holiday season, and then we start it all over again in January. And but hopefully by January we'll be able to take the wind out of a few sails, and that's what we're going to be looking to do. So we want to have everybody keep an eye on these conferences, and don't forget, sometime next year we're going to find out when the Democratic and Republican conferences, national conferences, are going to be happening in 24. And why is it I get the feeling that there's nothing out there that's saying that they're going to do this, but I could just see the Republicans saying, yeah, we're going to have it in Portland. Because like Portland, if they do that, they just want no one to come home alive.
Well, I can tell you that there's been some news on that here in Nashville, because
again?
Nashville is one of the final 2 cities in the running to host the RNC in 2024.
What's
And
the other one?
I believe it's Milwaukee, if
Milwaukee.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm gonna double check that real quick. Yes, it is. It's Milwaukee. So
I
it's
think that, you know what? Honestly, I was being facetious when I said Portland. I was being funny. I think Nashville's going to get it.
I've been writing to elected officials here in Nashville, trying to ask them how Nashville potentially, even possibly, has the infrastructure to assure this personal safety of Black and trans and gay and other marginalized communities here in Nashville from a large influx of Republicans. I mean, especially if Trump is the nominee, I don't believe that there's sufficient infrastructure to keep marginalized people safe from such a large number of insurrectionists and insurrectionist supporters coming to town.
I don't think they care.
I believe
Milwaukee is a
them on notice.
Milwaukee is a good possibility. I can see Milwaukee. But despite all the gains that they've had in Wisconsin, and I could see it only as I think they're going to lose some of them over the course of the next few years. But I really think that the Republican base right now is trying to shore up the world that they have, shore up the regions that they have, which is why I think they're going to be which is why I'm going to think they're going to be in Nashville. Now I really want to cause damage to the American Renaissance Conference. So that November will be,
So what's that?
Didn't the city council throw up some kind of roadblock to them coming, though?
So that's what I wanted to mention just real quickly, is that the Metro Council of Nashville, of course, is kind of more politically reflective of the Nashville proper demographics and political beliefs. So as a whole, of course, people in Nashville don't have any interest in having the Republican National Convention coming here. It's other Tennesseans outside of the place where it would be, outside of Nashville, who really want it to come here. And I think most Nashvillians recognize that there could be nothing positive gained from either for Nashville's reputation or Nashville's public safety from having the Republican nominating convention here. And so the Metro Council passed a resolution saying that that they would reject the contract, or the proposed contract for the Republican National Convention. But now there's chatter that the state of Tennessee may force Nashville to host the conference against its will.
Oh yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Yeah. Okay. We got something to work with here. Now,
which Tennessee legislature has a habit of doing, of forcing more progressive areas of the state, like Memphis, into doing things. or to punishing them for taking. You know, they are the local rights people, the Republican Party, but they like
party of local government.
in
Yeah,
Nashville for acting.
We're gonna be doing.
their own.
Yeah, it's what they do.
Maybe
so
we should have. Maybe we should have a conference before. Maybe we should have a little summit meeting before American Renaissance. Something before maybe in October, or maybe I'll just drive down and meet with folks to see what kind of organizing we can do against the your legislatures down there. But we'll talk about that another time. I mean, off camera, off podcast, and all that.
The RNC thing is going to be very, very.
Oh, we're gonna have fun with that,
especially if the state
no doubt
forces Nashville to have it against its will. I mean, it's going to be fun, you know.
Oh, we're gonna have a ball because I promise you, this podcast is gonna be. I got plans. I got plans. Brian, Christian, I got plans.
All right, I'm on board. I don't even know what they are.
Good.
I'm on board.
I'm on board.
So, alrighty, we better get going. We've been here for a little while, and I want to thank Will for showing up. You're always welcome here at the IDAVOX Report.
It's always my pleasure to see you guys.
Yeah, truly.
Well,
hopefully you'll see me sometime soon, probably on my way to Atlanta.
Well, come in for some barbecue. We'll be happy to provide.
From real barbecue too. No,
there we go.
All right, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of another IDAVOX Report, and I'm very, very sad that we have because I miss you all. When are we coming back? Are we going to come back in 2 weeks, or are we going to chill for a while?
I could probably do 2 weeks.
There you go.
All right.
I'm ready when you guys are.
Yeah, and after the episode next week, we'll just in 2 weeks we'll see what we got going in the fall. But in the meantime, Brian, Christian, Beth, Will, thank you all. I'm happy that to share this space with you all. So I just want to let everybody know, and then everybody else got their pluggables if they got as Evans would say, what the hell is his name from Beyond the Bastards? What?
Robert Evans.
Robert Evans, as Robert Evans would say, you guys can plug your pluggables, and I mean, first of all, you can find me at onepeoplesproject.com, idavox.com, on Twitter at DLamontJenkins, IDAVOX at IDAVOXOPP, One People's Project at One People's Proj. I'll leave out the ECT. As I said before, you go on to One People's Project, hit that donate button. We need you. So next, Christian.
All right, I'll say, yeah, if you can, please donate to the IDAVOX Report. I got back on TikTok. You can find me at the Christian Perez. Right now I've been posting a lot of old IDAVOX videos. Anybody that wants some short clips, check them out. They're really good. You can find me on Twitter at Perez Podcast. And please, if you can, like I just said, please donate to the podcast. We need that help.
Beth.
Yeah, support IDAVOX. Getting ready to start tomorrow the next semester in radical education around history and language arts for 3rd graders through 12th graders. You can find more at fosterwoods.org.
Brian.
Yeah, NJ at NJRR Brian. I'm on Twitter. I tweet rarely. Sometimes I go in spurts, but check me out there at NJRR Brian. And thanks a lot, Christian, for doing some TikTok work. And I just appreciate everybody that supports the production company here. It's Revolution Radio. You can visit us at www.njrevolutionradio.com. We'll be doing some one-off interviews. I have a little editorial board that you can join and have input into independent media and help me produce shows like this one here and others as well. So thanks a lot.
And Will, we didn't even ask what you're up to. So what's going on?
I don't. Well, you guys, I don't have any plugs, but I will just in lieu of that, I'll just say make sure to support some organizations that I love. Obviously, IDAVOX, the Foster Woods Folk School up in Kentucky with what Beth is doing so valuably, and finally a local group here that's near and dear to my heart, the No Exceptions Prison Collective.
Oh yes. I love them. All righty. So without further ado, everybody, until 2 weeks from now, we'll see you soon. Peace.